Jurassic World Dominion is a movie about dinosaurs. That's it. That's the review. Thanks for coming. Goodbye. Okay, so I just sat through 147 minutes of what was intended to be a serious sci-fi adventure blockbuster, but instead it turned out to be one of the best comedies of the year. Most of the sequences around the dinosaurs left me smiling with amusement rather than amazement. The whole scenario of dinosaurs ruling the planet alongside humans was a pretty funny idea and honestly quite difficult to pull off as being serious. So why not just embrace the wackiness of its premise? It's never going to recapture the magic of the first Jurassic Park because it's taken 5 attempts and all have failed miserably. You think bringing the original cast is going to change that universal? You thought wrong. Are you forgetting that Alan was part of one of the most notorious scenes in the franchise?
Alan!
So in the third installment of the Jurassic World series, the dinosaurs roamed the Earth freely following the volcanic eruption of the island that they were enclosed in, which makes me question how the land dinosaurs managed to travel to all 7 continents. There's Triceratops walking with elephants in this one. It's weird. I think this premise always had potential to be great, but it's a part of a franchise that has milked this theme so many times that you would have to erase everything from the past Jurassic World movies to make this one good. The previous 2 movies are actually holding Dominion back from having an opportunity to break new ground with a fresh look on the concept of dinosaurs and humans living together. Even though it's not factually possible since dinosaurs would immediately die from the climate, in Dominion we get to see the state of the world and how the humans have coped living among giant reptiles. The way this is presented is tonally confusing. At times it feels like it's trying to be dramatic, and other times it's just outright hilarious. But the humour doesn't come from the script, more so from the calamity of its scenes. There were a few moments that were intended for comedy relief to kind of ease the tension of the action. The action was the best part of the movie. In fact, it was way too reliant because I found the other scenes to be very difficult to understand or care what the characters were saying. There was nothing new or interesting to add for the characters of Jurassic World. No real charisma or energy. The actors are trying their best, but it feels like nothing is being done to develop them at all. All the focus is on the spectacle, which is expected for a blockbuster, but it becomes mind-numbing since there is no soul behind what's going on. There's no real threat when a dinosaur approaches a human anymore. It's almost become routine. There was one new character who I would suppose serves as the antagonist. He's the CEO of Biosyn, a massive company that's doing shady research into dinosaurs, while also creating these grasshopper things called locusts. Apparently they were created by Biosyn to threaten the food supply by eating the crops of other independent businesses while leaving Biosyn's crops untouched so they can dominate. You know what, I don't even know why I'm talking about this. It was such a random plot to add to an already convoluted story that has no structure whatsoever. The plots about the locusts and the CEO do not connect with the main story with any excitement or conflict. It's like 2 magnets trying to attract one another, but they're both constantly on the north poles. I had no idea what direction this movie was trying to go. At one point it felt like an action spy film with ridiculous Mission Impossible-esque stunts that completely filtered my mind out of the narrative. But if I'm being honest, I was glad that these stunts were in the movie because all of a sudden I was entertained. Even though I knew what was going to happen, I wasn't bored, and that involves the absurdity of a Carnotaurus eating a man on a scooter. I live for that kind of thing. It was ridiculous to watch but also enjoyable, because it was funny. If I were to give some praise to the movie, it would be based on the #1 priority in how to keep an audience entertained. The Jurassic World trilogy has served this purpose adequately, but let's be clear, they didn't go above and beyond to challenge the audience in any shape or form. For the most part, the effects looked good. Not great, but it wasn't noticeable, bar the first 5 minutes which looked pretty janky. The director said he wanted to go back to the practical way of creating the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park rather than just CGI. The smaller dinosaurs were made through animatronics, and from my opinion it worked. I like that the film didn't overuse its power on computer graphics and sought to improve the look of the dinosaurs from a practical sense. But unfortunately, this franchise has just run its course. It seemed like the writers had a whole bunch of ideas that did have some interesting and relevant topics, like having a billionaire CEO taking advantage of his resources without any consequences to the Earth is something that would definitely work on the big screen. But there was too much stuff in this one movie, and they just kept jamming it into the ground without any care on how to structure or mould this into something that would make you go back and watch it again. I don't particularly hold any nostalgia for the Jurassic Park film in '93, so seeing the original cast didn't really enhance my viewing for the film, and they weren't really given much to do because of how poor the pacing was. However, a fragment of the movie where it is impossible to go wrong is with Jeff Goldblum. You know what type of performance he's going to bring, but it's pretty damn good. In spite of having little screen time, his unique mannerisms were still enough to shine a light on this dull blockbuster. All in all, I don't think I will ever go back and revisit the Jurassic World trilogy. This one didn't know whether to take itself seriously or just succumb to the ridiculousness. And that conflict of tone is what makes this a big, puzzling mess. The sequences with the dinosaurs are laughable and stupid, but they weren't terrible and were definitely the best parts of the films. So what could have been a vibrant and awe-inspiring trilogy for a new generation just ended up being a major disappointment.